Hello Gaze community, before we get into today's video, I just want to remind everybody that Sunsworn, Edge of Annihilation is funding on Indiegogo right now. This is a space fantasy epic that it is my hope will rekindle a fire in you for that genre and be the beginning of a saga of great stories for the next generation. Now, it is a full-length novel that also does come with a visual companion if you choose that option. That would be the featured perk. Check it out today, support indie creators, and I do thank you very much. Sunsworn, Edge of Annihilation. Chapter 1, Whims of Fate. Tension had been brewing for months in the Kautar solar system. The Astral Union was growing concerned by the boldness of the Gorlani Syndicate. The pirate outfit was growing too large to ignore. Their expanding sphere of influence was now a minor threat to the Union itself. Planet Kautar was the leading exporter of coal gel, a fluid used to stabilize the ignition gas in Flay's weapons. Hoping to end the hostilities, the Union dispatched an emissary to defuse the situation. Kalen Sill instructed his pilot to land the ship inside the hangar of the Terrible. The massive Warhawk battleship served as King Krug's base of operations. He rubbed the sweat from his palms and took in the view from the cockpit. It was vast. Many starships of various types littered the bay, with no attempt at organization. Pirates of differing shapes, sizes, colors, and smells milled about. Some worked on vessels, some socialized, but all stopped to regard the Union transport. One group moved to surround the vessel, brandishing weapons. The ambassador stepped toward the rear of the ship where his soldier escort awaited. He stopped again to take a breath. Krug's savage reputation preceded him. Kalen was not looking forward to this exchange. The stink of engine lubricant, cheap alcohol, and body odor that permeated the unopened hatch only added to his anxiety. The Union official was out of his element. He was nervous, and the perspiration gathering on his face made it obvious.
"Steel yourself,"
came a cool mechanized voice over Kalen's shoulder.
"These animals sustain themselves on the fear of others. They can sense your weakness and will use it to pick you apart. Find your center, friend."
The emissary turned to regard Aster Sunsworn, and the sight gave him comfort. This was an Astral Templar, an elite warrior sworn to uphold the laws and principles of the Union. He stood 6 inches over 6 feet, durable scale mesh armor covering him from head to toe. The material was nanotech, known as Synskin. Due to an implant received upon induction, Templars could surround themselves in a skin-hugging shell. The tech could also create weapons or shields with only a thought. Each suit takes on a unique appearance according to the host's nature. Aster's was a traditional bronze. His helmet sported decorative ram's horns with a dark T-shaped visor at the center. Smooth pauldrons covered his shoulders. Layered vambrances and greaves provided extra protection for his forearms and shins. Kalen glanced at the warrior's belt, relieved to see that Aster had brought his signature soul blade. The weapon was a one-of-a-kind piece of technology, said to be powered by a miniaturized star contained within the hilt. When ignited, an intense shaft of solar energy blazed into being, creating a searing sword. The soul blade was a Sunsworn family heirloom, passed down for generations. Aster inherited it when his older brother Anix fell in battle 6 years prior. Even among his peers, Aster was highly regarded. His name and deeds were spoken of with reverence throughout the galaxy. He was still young by human standards, but he had already accomplished more than most do in a lifetime. Kalen traveled with this Templar only once before. In that instance, he'd seen Aster dispatch 8 cyber assassins in a matter of seconds. The memory made him smile and cringe. "Thank you, Aster. Your presence is reassuring." The Templar nodded and motioned to the hatch. Kalen threw the switch to engage the exit ramp. He took a step through the ventilating mist to view and smell the hangar. A ragtag ensemble awaited below, weapons aimed.
"Get to stepping, turds,"
one short, gaunt pirate urged.
"You're on Krug's time now."
4 soldiers moved to the front and advanced. Kalen and Aster followed, with 4 more grunts flanking. They walked off the ramp to face the Gorlani. "Take us to him," Kalen said, glaring at the outspoken pirate.
Just you and the Templar. King's orders.
"Those aren't the terms we agreed to," the emissary argued.
Them's the terms now, Union puppet. You want to talk at Krug or not?
Kalen looked to Aster.
The decision is yours, sir,
The Templar said. "Very well," Kalen huffed. "Under protest, I agree to the new terms you presented. Lead on."
Protest? Ha! Like you have a choice.
The vocal Gorlani snickered through cracked lips.
The name's Jock. I'll be your tour guide today. If you have any questions, keep them to yourself. I don't care. I'm not much for small talk either, so keep your holes shut. That means no more protest, fancy man. Follow me.
The Union soldiers parted to let them pass, groaning with disapproval. Aster and Kalen exchanged glances while leaving behind what little protection they had. The pirates led the pair beyond the landing bay, into the deep bowels of the gargantuan starship. The seemingly endless corridors were dimly lit, and reeked of burnt fuel and musk. Aster's sin skin filtered out the stench, but Kalen wasn't so fortunate. "Ugh, this heap is disgusting," the emissary complained. "How much farther?"
We're there, you sniveling sonk.
Jock snapped, stopping before a pair of lumbering shield doors. He punched a code into the control panel and the doors creaked open, sliding into the walls on either side. Jock swept low and swung his arms out toward the entrance, drawing a chuckle from the rest of the crew.
Step inside, honored guests.
Meanwhile, outside the horrible. "Why are we just sitting here?" Tripp Vengeance griped. He looked to his mentor, seated behind him in the star cruiser they were issued for this mission. "Shouldn't we be observing negotiations from the inside?" "We should be doing exactly this, my boy. Following instructions," came the expected response. High Magus Larrick Duke eyed his student as he answered. The teen was Rakesh, a species native to arid worlds, with skin color of rust and long sandy hair. Tripp's eyes were blue, a trait uncharacteristic to his kind, and often betrayed the boy's mood to his wise teacher. He was visibly tense, uneasy at the prospect of sending so few Union agents into the belly of the beast. "Settle your nerves," Larrick advised. "Events will occur according to the whim of fate. We watch and we report. That is the duty of the Ulthar." "This seems like a bad idea," Tripp groaned. "The Gorlani are the greatest threat to galactic peace in centuries. We should be taking a more active role." Larrick sighed. "We've been through this exercise countless times, Tripp. It's not our place to police the systems. That line of thinking runs counter to the teachings of Ul. The Union Defense Force exists for that very purpose. We are preservers of knowledge. We do not involve ourselves in the conflict. We record it." "We sit on our hands," Tripp muttered, falling back into his seat. "Hands that wield considerable power," his teacher countered. "Power that must remain in check. We do not decide. We observe and record," Tripp interrupted. "I got it. Still, it's kind of tough to observe from out here." "We record what we see," the elder man said. "We needn't have every detail of the meeting. We need only know of its occurrence and its result. A result we will discover easily enough from this distance." Tripp retrieved his Empyrean emerald from a pouch, rolling it over in his palm. The stone was wedge-shaped but thin, and longer than his foot, resembling a green icicle. His blue orbs reflected in its many facets, and the teen glared at the gem. He contemplated the lessons he'd learned in his time as Larrick's apprentice. "I can't shake the feeling that we should be doing more." "You're still learning. It's only natural to feel a degree of confusion and defiance, especially at your age," Larrick told him. "We all struggle in the beginning, but I see the makings of a High Magus in you. You will not hold the rank of Tiro for long. As you advance, you will come to understand what it is to be Ulthar." Tripp smiled and nodded, as these exchanges usually ended, but he did not agree. Inside the Terrible. Aster and Kalen entered the chamber side by side. A ragged strip of stained red carpet adorned the center of the expansive room, leading to the far end. An immense throne composed of starship wreckage and broken weapons loomed on a dais. At least 100 polished skulls of various species were displayed upon it. A dozen mechanar, sentient robots that once reigned as an imperial power in the galaxy, stood guard throughout. These were not free thinkers, though. The pirate kept them linked to a slave circuit, forced to obey his every command. Upon the throne sat King Krug, a towering member of the Trellic species. He was an imposing figure, well over 7 feet in height, and as broad as 2 human men, with reptilian and ape-like facial features and extremities. Half of the man had been replaced with cybernetics, including the right side of his face. This only added to his fearsome appearance. He rose as his guests entered and crossed his arms. The Union agents approached with caution. Aster eyed each mechanar as he passed, his personal CPU scanning, capabilities and weaknesses displayed on the readouts within his helmet. He'd been in similar situations, and it almost never ended well, but fortune favored the prepared. Kalen held firm, to his credit. His logical mind screamed for him to get out immediately, but the official kept his composure. He was determined to carry out the mission. They were halted 10 feet shy of the throne by 2 guards who moved to block their path.
That's far enough,
Krug growled more than spoke.
Tell me, human, what does the Astral Union have to say that I haven't already heard and rejected? What sweet promises have your superiors concocted to win me over?
His cybernetic eye locked on Aster, and a harmless amber laser scanned his form.
Or do you come with threats?
Kalen cleared his throat. Greetings, Krug, King of the Gorlani. I am Kalen Sill, Ambassador of the Astral Union. I've heard many tales of your...
Cut the jabber, whacker!
The king interjected loudly, startling the emissary.
Get to the meat of your speech!
The angry words frightened Kalen, who was already on edge. He remembered Aster's words.
Steel yourself.
The ambassador found his center, stood tall, and cleared his throat. As you wish. The Union can't allow this syndicate to continue operations any longer, he stated with authority. Straightening the lapels of his jacket, he carried on. You've run wild in this sector, and its residents have had enough. You will cease all illegal activity immediately, or you will face annihilation. A Union fleet stands ready beyond the range of your sensors. No sweet deals, only the offer of your continued survival. What say you to that? He audibly exhaled as he finished, relieved to have powered through his prepared statement, but nervous to receive the king's response. Krug's hands moved from his chest to his hips.
That's a bold statement, especially from one such as you. I wonder, Union man, if you would be so defiant in the face of King Krug if this Templar did not stand by your side.
Kalen could feel his hands begin shaking, a shiver coming over him. I would do my duty, pirate, no matter the consequences, he replied through chattering teeth.
You will learn of consequences,
Krug said, pulling a bulky multiplex cannon from inside his throne. Aster stepped forward, drawing the soul blade from his hip.
Consider your next move carefully, King. The lives of hundreds, your own included, depend on it. I've planned every move carefully, Templar. This is no negotiation. This is a call to slaughter. Thousands of lives will be taken today, not hundreds. Your fleet was lost the moment they exited the pockets that brought them here. Are you prepared to face the reckoning?
You're insane,
Aster concluded.
What makes you believe that your paltry army stands the slightest chance against the Union's finest?
Oh, it wouldn't,
Krug scoffed.
There are bigger forces at work here, Sunsworn. Forces you've never seen. Oh, but they've seen you.
And what would cause such a mysterious force to align with the likes of a lowly pirate king?
Aster chided.
Self-preservation, convenient distraction, and the promise of sin-skin technology.
The king hissed with a wicked grin.
All for the price of a single star system.
The picture was becoming clearer now. Krug had indeed thought several steps ahead, and they'd fallen wholly into his trap. The recent aggression from the Gorlani had been nothing more than bait that the Astral Union eagerly swallowed. There was only one way out of this now if they were going to survive. With a thought to the CPU connected to his cortex, Aster sent an alert to command.
Take them!
Krug roared. Meanwhile, in the Terrible's hangar. Ginny Zinn gasped as the ship's console blazed to life with Aster's alert. She hit the comm that connected her to the Astral Union's soldiers guarding the ramp. Fellas, we've got a problem. Sunsworn's alarm just clicked. As if on cue, she heard flaze bolts thud and crackle against the hull outside. Heard, Jin. Sergeant Hopper's voice returned. They scammed us. 2 of us are down out here. We're retreating inside. Get the field up and get this thing moving. Heard, she replied, flipping switches and depressing buttons with expert precision. Her timing was perfect. The ramp retracted behind the last grunt's boot, and the hatch hissed shut behind them. The transport lifted, but was enveloped by a shifting energy field. A flurry of flaze blasts poured over the ship, some deflecting off the edges of the field, causing collateral damage to the hangar. Others slammed it directly. Personal weapons had little effect on powerful fields, but every impact whittled away at its integrity. Get us out of here! One soldier yelled. I'm on it! Jenny hollered back, but it wasn't that simple. The bay fields were up, and they'd have to disable them to launch back into space. Hopper skidded into the cockpit and plopped into the co-pilot's chair. He was an experienced pilot, though not as proficient as Ginny, and an expert gunner. Focus on evasive maneuvers and get us pointed at the exit, Jin. I'll get the field down. Ginny flashed a thumbs up and fell into a flow, weaving the transport through the barrage of enemy fire. She ignored the smaller projectiles while taking care to evade the dangerous blasts from heavy cannons. Some found their mark, punching temporary holes in the ship's field and threatening the hull. The fields resealed in the blink of an eye, but each hit drained power from the generator. Careful, Jin! We can't take many hits like that, Hopper said as he returned fire, causing as many explosions as possible to disorient their attackers. I'm aware, Ginny returned, angered by the words. It's pretty tight in here, if you hadn't noticed. Quick but steady, she twisted the vessel back toward the shielded opening, firing some shots of her own as they went. Hopper grinned. He'd been riding with Jin for years. In that time, he found that a little jab could sometimes be all the motivation she needed. Ginny was extraordinary but prideful, and shined when she felt she had something to prove. He didn't miss a beat. Targeting the central controls on either side of the bay opening, 1 pulse missile each. Internal defense systems responded to the incoming projectiles, attempting to blast them down. 1 defense battery did just that, destroying the missile. The other could not match Hopper's calculated aim. The thin cylinder slipped through the bolts and crashed into the control panel, blowing the generator. In an instant, the right side of the field came down, to the cheers of everyone aboard. Ginny hit the accelerator and zipped through the exit, accepting some hits to do so. Gorlani fighters lifted from the hangar to follow, and the Terrible's starboard assault cannons came to bear. That's the end of Chapter 1. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and I hope it motivates you to take a look at Sunsworn: Edge of Annihilation if you have not already. And also, we do have a $15,000 stretch goal that will put an audiobook narrated by me in the hands of every single backer. Every backer of the novel will get that audiobook if we reach 15K. So, yeah, thank you all for watching. I appreciate you listening and supporting the channel, supporting this project. And, yeah, let's make this a big thing. This is, in my mind, this is the next Star Wars. We have to move on. We have to do our thing. We have to create new properties, for the next generation. So thank you all for all of your support. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you're not already a member of the Gaze community, please hit that subscribe button, and we will catch you on the next one. Thank you very much. Peace.